What's up, guys? Elfis here, and today we're going to be doing another HoN replay analysis. Just a quick little side note. Haku's Love actually posted a couple, but in all fairness, we did one for him, so I figured we'll do one for Nomesayin, and then we'll go back and do the rest of his afterwards. Just kind of make it all fair for everybody. Sorry, Haku, but it is what it is. Other than that, as usual, Tidy Jangles is joining me.
Good evening.
And this is going to be a Nomad game played by Brazil Nomad, who I'm guessing is a Smurf to practice Nomad. Yep, 91%. So we are going to go ahead and jump right in here when Teddy is all set. You ready, man?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Alrighty, so first thing, it's a 1500, 1400 game. There is a 1600 approximately on both team. I mean, I'm counting the 1570 as a 16, but... and of course, you know, the infamous 1400 fast pick Sandwraith. Always good. 1 and 3. That's interesting. Okay, so we have a Nomad played by our pink. Based on the statistics, it's a fairly one-sided game. I mean, it does last a little bit, but I don't think the Hellborn has much of a chance. We're going to go ahead and focus on Nomad, though, because...
I like your comment there, Nomad.
Yeah, well...
The quote from one of the Nomad skins. And he picked it after that guy picked Sandwraith as well.
So the Hellborn team, I actually remember it. It's Nomad, Panda, Doctor, Legionnaire, and... Brown. I forgot. There's a Brown. He plays
It's Brown.
somebody.
We can safely assume that it's Scout.
Solstice. He plays Solstice. There he goes. He picks Solstice. And the Legion team ends up being Ra, Electrician. I think he does pick Midas, and then Bubbles, Sandwraith for their team. So first of all, the Hellborn team, it's not really the best team to begin with. It doesn't help, and you can play Solstice in the jungle, or in the lane, so it's not wrong to do that. A lot of people assume he's a jungler, but he can do just as good in the lane, if not better. I mean, you know, depending on who he's against and all that kind of stuff. But the team itself isn't that good because A, you have 4 melee heroes, which usually is not a good composition. On top of that, you have quite a few solo mid heroes. Depending on how you think about it, Nomad is definitely a solo mid as well as Doctor, and Panda can be played in the side lane, but I like him better as a solo mid, just because, you know, getting an early Panda ult is awesome
Also,
sauce.
don't have any supports. DR is not a good support. Like, you should not be run as a support at all.
I mean, usually the intelligence is the one that gets stuck supporting, but Doctor is not a support. He doesn't have any long-range stuns. He doesn't have a whole lot of crowd control. I mean, he's got that slow, which he could spam if he had the mana for his ult, but if he's supporting, he won't, so it's kind of contradictive there. Let's see, starting items. Nomad starting items. Okay, so I would disagree with your starting items for a couple reasons. One, so there's usually 2 ways you can go starting items with solo mid Nomad. 2 acceptable ways, I guess. The first is just the normal shield, hatchet, and runes, which is pretty much acceptable for no matter who you're going up against. The second is hatchet, a couple minor totems, and some runes. Or you could get more regen instead of the minor totems if you desire, but I don't think it's necessary. And the reason that you can go 3 totems instead of a shield is
melee.
Yeah, is because melee. And actually you could get more. You could go 4 totems, but he's saving up a bit to get a somewhat reasonably early bottle. But so you took the totems over the shield without realizing who you're going up against, so they could send a number of those heroes mid, and it looks like they're actually sending Bubbles mid, who is not a melee. So
I would defend his decision somewhat in thinking if he's looking at that lineup, yes, Bubbles is kind of the one that's more likely to go mid, but in like a normal sort of setup, but they are going to have to run a double melee lane if they don't send a melee mid. So that's probably where his assumption came from.
Yeah,
so
well,
I guess
I would have sent Electrician mid in all honesty, but
so would I.
It's still like
even though side lane support Bubbles is horrible, it's still better than.
But they have the argument is that they have ranged heroes that can do solo mid. So it's not the best, especially in a 1500 game where people don't always make logical decisions, to assume they're gonna make logical decisions. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a huge deal. I just think it will end up kind of biting you in the butt there a little. On the side note, though, I actually love that Nomad skin, by the way, so not that it's relevant. Just quick lane setup. So we have Panda solo top. That's going to be fucking terrible. Against Midas Electrician, who, by the way, Midas got some pretty weird items, but I guess if he's against a solo pit. What the fuck is Panda doing? I don't... Okay, so I can see how he went 1 and 11.
What is this guy?
I don't know.
What's going on?
He just tried to pull the lane all the way up there. Oh my god, he should have died so bad.
And look at this ward! What is this ward?
Did he buy that? He bought the ward. Oh my god.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and assume that this panda has never played HoN before. I think that's the
Okay. So this is where I feel so bad commenting on players losing games, because this is by far, like, instantly I'm going to guarantee it's down to your team. And this Doctor not playing the best down on bot either. He's taking a lot of unnecessary damage.
he's probably gonna die. Yeah, he's definitely gonna die.
Yeah, he's kind of
He's
fucked.
slowed.
Back to Nomad, though. First of all, Nomad, you're kind of getting a little bit lucky. Bubbles is missing his take cover. I've noticed it once. He might have done it more than once.
DR doesn't even try to dodge that. Like, it's just ultra bad.
I've given up on even looking at this team. It's pretty ridiculous. Oh, and then it looks like, oh no, Legionnaire's deciding, hey, you know what? We're doing so good. Why don't I go take their jungle? Oh, even better. I'm just going to go aggressive push mid.
Okay, so this is one of those games where you know, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm in the 1500s because of my team." In this game,
this is the
I can, this, assuming you lost.
This Bubbles is playing this game terribly, though. He could easily just harass this Legio. I don't know what he's doing. He's just like, hey, why don't I leave him? But so anyways, back to Nomad. So Nomad, we got a reasonably timed bottle. That's nice. Your CK is just about good. It's not great, so usually you want about 5 every minute. If you're doing the math, it's 50 every 10, so about 5 every minute. And in all honesty, there's 8 that come every min, so you could get more than that, but 5 is a reasonable amount to get. But it's not terrible. And on the upside, I mean, you're tied with Bubbles, so it's not bad.
Wow, Bubbles bad.
Yeah, and you just get I don't know, I wasn't even paying attention to that. I don't know how that happens. This is not smart to keep chasing this. Turn around. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So turn around. This is where you should actually, you know what? Don't free farm, because you can't, because Legionnaire's like, hey.
All Legionnaire's doing is denying Nomad XP and farm here.
Yeah, so just focus the tower. Don't come up here to the wave with him if he wants to be stupid. This is still too risky to be up here, up this far. Especially, well, maybe not as much as you would assume, because you can see a couple of them on the map. But still, it's certainly not, safe. And on top of that, you're not really that high of a level, because Legionnaire's been stealing all your experience. So it's a little bit doubly unfortunate, and no, you should get away. Yeah.
Oh my god, this Doctor.
Honestly, I haven't been paying attention to him, because Doctor and Panda, I'm just assuming they're both, like, morons. Like, they have no idea how to play a MOBA, ever. Nomads, no mana. We don't have a rune ward, so as we've said a couple times in the past, you should just buy your own rune ward if nobody's going to buy it for you. I know nobody likes to do it, but if you want to win mid, it's like almost required to have a rune ward. And actually, oh no, I was going to say, it looks like you're getting a little bit lucky. It looks like they might be changing up, but no, they're just going to do a duo mid for seemingly no reason. You might be... Nah, you're fine.
That's good.
I was going to say you might be in a bit of trouble, but nah, you're okay. So Electrician's going to go B, because he's stupid. I hope he's going to go B anyways. Sandwraith jungling, because he can do that with no life tube. Let's see. Bubbles got his... So you don't have your boots. Bubbles has...
He's got 2 levels in Dissipate, so he kind of can a little bit.
Not for... Well...
No, not really.
Well, when you put it like that, anybody can do anything if they have any freaking mitigation at all. But, I mean, you need a life tube on him, and then you can go to the jungle if you want. So, yeah, see, there you go. That's what I was talking about earlier with Bubbles missing his take cover. Take cover blocks your Mirage Strike or True Strike. Is that the other ability?
No, it doesn't. It only delays it. Like
No, it blocks it. It stops the... It's essentially like they've disappeared for a second, you lose target. And if you watched right there, it did disjoint it. It disjoints the chase.
It only disjoints the true strike though, not the mirage strike.
Yeah, the mirage one might not because it just keeps going until it attacks, but the true one is like your hero. So I'm not a super expert on it, but I know what I just saw, and I just saw it happen. So that was a fight you wanted. Bubbles no mana. No, you could have beaten him. Okay, it's all right. It's no big deal. Regen up a bit with the bottle. Oh, never mind. You don't have charges on the bottle. I hate the side thing here. It's misleading. It says you have 3 out of 3, but no. Alright, nice job, nice guess on that. Again, you need a rune ward, but it's fine. If I were you, I would literally drop a totem and buy a rune ward, place it real quick, but that's just me, I guess. How did he just get full? Oh, did he use all his bottle charges, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, he had a regen bottle, that's right. Gotcha. See, right there, it pops the same thing. The shell pops your... I'm not sure if it works with Mirage Strike or not, but I know it works with True Strike, so...
It didn't work there actually because he just didn't. I'm actually pretty positive that it simply doesn't work on either of them. If you don't stop the true strike by like trying to right click on him and attack him again, if you just literally don't press anything, it will hit him when he comes out.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say that it may be that he's just clicking away as soon as he takes cover. In which case, that's a misplay by you, Nomesayin. I'm not sure if that's the case. I personally think that it would disjoint it. That's my thought process behind it. But if it doesn't disjoint it, then you should just stay and let the damage go unless you're in some kind of danger by sticking around, which you aren't in all of these cases. So feel free to stick around.
I've been kind of looking at both sides, both teams, and I'm amazed that this is even a 1500 game. This is like some 1200 level plays from a lot of them. Like it's a really weird game to do a replay of because of how
this isn't normal. This
doesn't
happen,
frankly.
So he's got no mana, good job, but you have no mana, or no health, sorry, so not the best job. It was a little bit unfortunate there. Had you had a little bit more health, you would have killed him with the slow from your sand.
And he could kill you now if he wanted to, but
does he have bottle? I can't tell because of the stupid picture. No, he doesn't. Okay, so you should just go B. There's no point in staying here. Waiting and then attempting.
I don't know why he's not killing you. Like,
it's because he doesn't know he's there. Probably he thinks he went B. I would bet. But you should not stay and fight him for these runes. This is unintelligent.
If he sees you right now, you're dead.
Very unintelligent to stay. Like okay,
you're
apparently
dead.
Okay, apparently he didn't want to use his shell, but fine.
Bubbles could have just killed him.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Again, it's just bads.
Yeah. So
wow, like I don't understand that. Bubbles just didn't want to kill you. I guess like.
Yes. You should
that was a horrible misplay by you even remaining there.
Yeah.
You should be able to know how much damage Bubbles' skills do. Like, the fact that he's bad doesn't make it excusable what a misplay that was by you. Like, he could have just killed you if he wanted to, but I guess he just didn't want to kill you.
Yep. And on top of that, you kind of used your whole bottle again, and I mean, now you're back to full, but it didn't really help you all that much. You've wasted a lot of farming time with that. That's 4 waves about to be... Oh, well, I guess you're getting part of this one, so...
186 gold per minute currently.
Yeah, so your gold per minute's bad, but the gold per minute being bad is not so much due to you not being able to last hit. It's due to you just not paying attention to what you should be doing. So, Legionnaire taunts. Nice job, Legionnaire. Okay, so that was a good taunt by him. I think it was a little bit mistimed by him. I think it was a little bit with luck. I don't want to give him too much credit, but give credit where credit's due. So good job. You should definitely, just a side note, this is kind of applying to everything. Always deny the catapults and archers whenever you can, because they push up the wave unnecessarily. So you have a catapult with.
I don't know where you're going right now. Maybe you're going to try and gank with half mana when there's free farm in mid and your bot lane's going back.
Yeah, so this is wasted time. Even if you're going to come gank, move closer because you're way too far to react quickly enough when your team gets here. But then on top of that, your team's nowhere in sight, so you shouldn't even come down here. And
you're literally just standing around now. It's not achieving anything.
So wasted time, not good. Missing creep kills, focusing Ra, who is level 6, also not the best. I believe his ult is on cooldown, but I'm not sure if you know that. So, yeah, his ult is on cooldown. I don't know if you actually knew that or not. So. I'll leave it to you. Maybe you did know it, and I'll give it to you. But I think you just focused whoever was there, so not necessary.
That was a massive waste of time. You could have had like 3 or 4 creep waves in mid.
And on top of that, you'd be level 8 or 9 by now.
Yeah.
So levels, people underestimate levels. The bonus stats per level is amazing. It's especially early on in the game. It affects so much. I mean, it depends on who you're playing and all that, but I mean, the stat gain is phenomenal. So don't misunderstand how important it is. That's what levels mean, really. That and the stronger skills. But I mean, everybody realizes the stronger skills. People tend to not think about the stats. Where are we going? We're going mid. So this should be a free kill. Free kill. Nope, we don't want to attack him. I guess we thought he was an image. That's okay. That's understandable. At this point, you should realize he's clearly not an image, though, so that's a good job. All right. It took you a bit there, but it's fine. I understand. I would have been skeptical about it, too, so it's all good.
Yeah, another thing, what you should have done is... I don't know, I think assuming it's an image is alright, but just as a general note, if there's someone within range of one of your skills and you've just fought it into the tower from the well, just use a skill. Because you're gonna it's a free skill, you're gonna get the mana back anyway. Yeah,
the regen from the well has a delay on it before it goes away, so you can use it for, I believe it's 4 seconds out of the well. I'm not 100%. Yeah. It might be 3, but if it's 4, either way though, 4 seconds then, so it'll regen your mana quite a bit. I don't think there's well, there might be a few skills that it won't regen you back to full, but not very many. So we have a Midas almost dead top. You're coming top for what? There's no reason to do this. Because you're alone. So, same concept with the whole bottom thing. You're wasting time again when you should be farming. Time. You could have, at this point, depending on, and I know you go for a Shroud first because I look at your items. And you're getting,
maybe free kill on Midas.
Yeah, but you didn't need to use your True Strike. You could have Mirage Striked. It would have been enough. That was way too ballsy, man. And now you might even die for it. No. Oh, good. I thought you just turned around for that. You're dead. Yeah. No, Soul. Samwraith, why you're not boarding? Okay, he died anyways. Whew. So if you had just True Strike, you would have killed him anyways. So poor decision making on top of the fact that really it wasn't necessary to come up here to begin with. But since you came up here, it's not terrible that you got the kill, but you need to kind of keep in mind how much damage the True Strike versus Mirage Strike does, and the benefits and the benefits and deficits to each. So keep that in mind that you didn't need to die for that. Had you just Mirage Striked, you would have lived as well and gotten the kill. I think, do they actually do the same damage or no?
No, they used to.
Yeah, so it does 120 bonus attack damage for your, 200 bonus attack damage and then 120 damage from the image. So if you had paid attention to that, and 120 still would have been enough either way, but it's fine. And you don't really need to pay so much attention to the numbers. You kind of just get a feel for it when you're playing, how much damage you need to do to kill someone, and it's just kind of something you get used to. You can pay attention to the numbers if you want, but I think it's unnecessary. Still no Rune Ward, unfortunate. We're kind of just guessing now. So actually, while we're in this little bit here, and again, some wasted time down here, I mean, you're coming down for a Midas gank, so it's not terrible. But keep in mind that it comes down to who you pick. So Nomad, he can gank okay, but he's certainly no Deadwood, he's certainly no Devourer or Hag or, whoever who has just phenomenal gank potential. And on top of that, your teammate just freaking dies. But so you can easily just farm mid and port if needed, or gank when you're guaranteed kills or things like that. You should keep in mind that Nomad is primarily a carry. He's a carry. Whether you consider him a hard carry or like a semi-carry or what, I would consider him a hard carry. Certainly not as hard of a carry as like Scout or Chronos or whatever, but depending on how you build it, of course, too.
I don't know. I'd consider him more of a semi-carry, and I think he is a good ganker. Honestly, I think he does a hell of a lot of physical damage at the start when no one really has that much armor, and when you get ganked by a Nomad who's got a rune, okay, this is the thing. If you are playing Nomad mid, gank whenever you get a decent rune. If you don't have a decent rune, don't run around not doing anything. Go and farm mid. So you've got you shouldn't be ganking as much as the heroes that I mentioned, and obviously just hard ganker heroes.
So now I would disagree. Now that his tower is gone in mid, I think it's okay for him to roam much more. Should be all over the map if he wants.
Yeah, I mean just generally playing Nomad.
I do want to make a small comment though before you finish your thing. Just you ported top, assuming to stop that fight that those 3 of them were past your tower. Good idea, but you didn't use it for anything. So if you're not going to use it for anything, there's no point in coming up top to
should have stacked that camp since you were next to it.
Yeah. Stacking it's not a huge deal. Usually your supports would be doing it, but I mean, obviously in this game you don't have any. Plus in the 1500s they rarely do it anyways.
On any hero, if you're running past the camp and it's 50-something seconds, you might as well stack it.
Yeah, if it's pre-40, if you're a carry or somebody who's more valuable for the gold. You don't have to wait for it. So this Doctor going balls to the wall again. This should be a free kill for you, though. Free kill on somebody, to say the least. You can... No. So good choice. Ignoring Ra. Now you probably have some type of feel that his ult might be up. Something to note that people don't note is your Mirage Strike goes off cooldown if you get a kill with it. Or it may just be...
It's when an enemy dies near you.
Yeah, within 500 distance. Yeah, so feel free to spam that when Bubbles has very little health. I noticed that you didn't. I wasn't totally paying attention. Maybe you didn't have enough mana. I'm not sure. But if that's the case, it's okay. It's understandable. But if not, feel free to just spam that when you're about to get a kill, okay? Your mana isn't worth saving it unless you know you're going to need to get away or something, and it's not worth it. And then it comes very down to situational. But in general, feel free to just, blast that all over the place when people are really low. If you get a kill, it resets the cooldown, you can keep going again. So, it's totally fine. Let's see, items. Yeah, so we have the Assassin's Shroud first. So, I actually wanted to talk about that. There's a couple things to note about that. Firstly, I don't like it at all on Nomad. And there's a couple reasons for that. First, mostly because the stats that you get aren't phenomenal when you're comparing it to other items. But then on top of that, because Nomad already has an invis, so the invis you get from the shroud is a bit repetitive. It's redundant. It's like getting lifesteal on Predator. I don't think it's necessary, and I see people do that all the time too. But I don't, it's a different video. But so you already have that invis. So there's two reasons why you wouldn't need to get another invis. Firstly being because you don't want to get too much invis on a team, or they're going to start buying detection and stuff to deal with it. And if you, for example, get a whole bunch of, you get 3 shrouds or something, they're going to buy eyes, they're going to buy dust, they're going to buy whatever. So you want to avoid that if at all possible. This is, by the way,
too much of a dive.
Way too much of a dive.
And he's got haste. Like, what are you thinking?
Way too much of a dive. So you should have given up on Bubbles as soon as you saw that port coming in. Maybe even sooner than that. You probably shouldn't have tower dove to begin with, but definitely as soon as you saw the port, you should have backed off. But
I wanna disagree with your opinion on the Shroud. I used to be of the same opinion, but since they changed Nomad's passive and Shroud, actually the crit from Shroud stacks with the passive, it means that if you're going to be more of a ganker than going for the carry build, it's really, really effective, and it makes you do a stupid amount of damage. And basically, you can like 2-shot supports just with the Shroud and the True Strike. It's just ridiculous.
Well, so okay, but you can 2-shot supports anyways if you get a different damage item. So I don't see the necessity to get that item. Like, you could easily do the same if you were, for example, and I'm on the fence on this, but if you were, for example, to get a shield breaker, you could do the same. 2-shot supports, same deal.
I still prefer the Helm shield breaker route with Nomad, but I think I see why Shroud is viable.
But so anyway,
I love that DR's just sitting here like he just doesn't even see Midas. It looks like.
Oh.
What's he doing?
So no, you shouldn't chase after Midas. Yeah, good job. You stayed around. I was gonna say, so you have to be prepared for a Sand Wraith poured in. Yeah, Solstice just being 1500. I'm Solstice. I do what I want. It was an okay ultimate, and it looks like you're gonna get Midas. Yeah, so it was a nice job. I think you're probably gonna die if they notice. Yeah, you're fucked. Okay, so I don't know if I'd say it was worth it. I think it was worth it in the end, considering you got Midas for... Well, no, actually. So Midas for Nomad's probably not a good trade. I mean, it depends on how well the Midas is doing and how well the Nomad's doing, but in general, just hero for hero, I don't think that's the best trade. It's not terrible, it's fine. But so... Doctor. So this is how Doctor... What do we have for Doctor? 1 and 7, okay. But so anyways, back to the Shroud. So getting too much invis forces them to get detection for the invis, which you don't want. That negates your invis. You don't want that to happen. Now granted, they waste money on it, but it nullifies your skill, and in this case, an ability on top of that. That's not something you would prefer to have happen. You would prefer to have them not buy an eye or anything, any type of detection, and let you do whatever you want all game. So getting too much invis, and this is the same concept behind getting, like, Nomad and Scout and, all these heroes that have invis on the same team. You don't get it because it forces the enemy to buy detection, which you don't want. So that's that's one of the many reasons, well, one of the 2 reasons, and then on top of that, the stats from it aren't phenomenal. They're not terrible, but they're nothing to brag about, really. Usually what you see people do is you go Helm of the Black Legion first, and then they either follow that up with a Shield Breaker, which is how I follow that up, or
Yeah.
potentially sometimes you'll see Frostburn as his attack modifier. Frostburn's
Take
okay.
it on Nomad, to be honest. I don't
Uh,
think it's necessary.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary, but it's not terrible. I think the Helm is plenty survivability, so you don't need the strength from the Frostburn,
Yeah.
which
You don't need
doesn't.
the slow either. You've got so much mobility on that hero. It's
Yeah,
better to
plus
just be able to burst people down and reset the cooldown on your strike
and
and
the
keep going.
Sandstorm has a mobility. It has a slow
Yeah.
movement speed, slow for enemies if you get close enough, which you have to be close enough for the Frostburn anyways. So I don't think the Frostburn's necessary, but I see it a fair amount of the time. It's not the worst thing you could get, so it's okay, I guess.
I really hope you are going for an Assassin's Shroud with that broadsword and not Rift Shards, because Rift Shards doesn't work with your passive.
Now he does get an Assassin's Shroud. I looked at his
Okay.
items at the end. That's the only major item he has. So, yeah. So you're kind of wasting time here. If you can't defend the tower, there's no reason to stick around. There's nothing you could do in the meantime. So I totally get it. Don't get me wrong.
Well, you could push another lane.
Yeah, you could try it, but to be honest, I mean, they could easily just like TP and stop that and still take the tower. So, I mean, I don't know. You need to defend the racks, so I'll give you that one. You can't go too far because if you lose the racks, it's over. Not that this isn't game over already, anyways, but it's definitely over if you lose the racks. On top of that, by the way, just a side note, my little broken record thing. I haven't seen you with the TP all game, so TP's for the win, man.
Just as a general rule, oh my god, look at Solstice's items. Just as a general rule, though, if someone is, if they're pushing one of your towers and you don't have enough teammates around to defend it, go and push another lane or go and farm and just keep a TP with you in case they keep pushing. There's no reason to just sit behind the tower, like, you know, just being there as a presence to make it look like you're kind of defending. They're not going to be dissuaded by one person just hanging about.
Yeah, and on top of that, you probably should have. Well, I mean, I guess it wouldn't have mattered, but I would have focused Bubbles over Ra there. In that case, it's fine. You get Ra anyways, and I hope you get Bubbles. Yeah. Okay. Nice job. Very well played by you, actually. Very nicely timed ultimate. I'm not sure if you did that on purpose or if you just spammed your ultimate because you were taking damage. But either way, it's fine. Worked out. We're gonna see a Sandwraith. This Sandwraith, I don't understand his ultimates ever. He just like ulties. I don't get it. This guy's really weird. He just like uses the ult and then doesn't port anywhere, like he's using it for like wards or something. I don't get it. But so yeah, so just to be clear, your GPM and all that, not the best. It's not terrible, but you should be higher.
It's bad. It's not terrible, but it is bad.
For a Nomad, it's bad. At 23 minutes. Usually Nomad.
For a Glacius, it's good.
Yeah,
For
if you were
a Nomad,
Glacius,
it's
it'd be
bad.
awesome. Or a Nymphora, that'd be pretty damn good. 250, nice job. But for a Nomad at 23 and a half, let's round to 24 minutes, you should probably have something like 350, give or take, because usually you do quite well as Nomad. There aren't many heroes that can beat him mid, and the reason I would say you lost mid, but you did alright. You actually, I think, won mid. I would say you lost mid because you didn't get any of the runes, and you didn't really get that many kills in lane, but I mean, in general, it comes down to the runes for winning mid. That's what it does. It's unfortunate that it comes down to a bit of random luck and all that, but it comes down to the runes. If he gets 4 double damage runes or a regen that's clutch or all these things, it really screws you over. It does, and it is unfortunate, but it's part of the game. You really need to get these runes. You need to win them, and I'm aware that you didn't have a ward, but that comes down to, once again, you should have bought the ward, and he just poured it in, so you definitely should have killed him, considering you had a double damage. I'm not sure why you ran. I guess you don't have that much sight, so maybe you were afraid his team was coming, but you could have definitely like 4-hit him with that double damage in the shroud. So just a little side note: if Bubbles uses his port to come in on you, beat the crap out of him. He's fairly squishy without the ability to get out. Let's see, so ward sight pretty low. It's not your job to do that, and I would usually, as a carry, even if my team's not warding, I might buy 1 or 2, but I mean, I wouldn't turn into a ward bitch just because my team isn't warding. I mean, you can do one for mid and, 1 after that if you really need to farm the jungle or something, but in general, you don't become a ward bitch just because your team's not doing it. This is a pretty poorly timed fight. You should go yeah, no. I was going to say you should turn around and head towards bottom and get out that way, but that was just kind of misplay by you guys
He
not being in the
ran
right
out of the
position.
bubbles ult as well and got stunned.
Did he get stunned by that? I actually didn't notice.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, so the stun's unfortunate too. To be honest, like not to like hurt your feelings or anything, but it doesn't matter. This is long past game over at this point. When your Panda and Doctor are doing that poorly, and on top of that, your Legionnaire and Solstice have some pretty weird items, you're unlikely to win. I mean, they could, this is the 1500s. Don't ever underestimate somebody's ability to throw a game, but
Oh yeah, do you not remember our little
yeah,
Cthulhu Fontaine?
me and Taddy here can definitely attest to the ability to throw. And this freaking Doctor, oh my God, if this guy's on my team, I would be raging so hard. Jesus Christ. So I feel bad for you. It comes down to, yes, this is very much so not your fault you lost this game. Now, you certainly could have done a little bit more. For example, winning mid runes. You could have also ganked a little bit more with those runes had you got them. I know there were one or two haste, not necessarily super early. Nice job focusing the tank, by the way, Panda. It's pretty intelligent. But in general, you could have won the wards better, and then on top of that, you could have farmed better. You wasted a significant amount of time attempting to gank with no runes, which was unnecessary.
Yeah.
So
Just generally small little plays as well. You could have just played better in general.
yeah, and then for example, like the time at top room where you could have just killed Bubbles when he poured it in. They're just these tiny little things that. I mean, your last hitting seems to be decent. Now, granted, your CK is bad at the moment, but it doesn't come down to whether or not you can last hit. It comes down to your positioning and such.
To be honest, if someone fails at last hitting with Nomad, they've got a serious problem.
Especially when you Nomad and Hatchet. And by the way, it definitely pops True Strike because he didn't click anywhere and the True Strike just got canceled. So the take cover, by the way, is what I was referring to. So I'm like literally 95% sure that it blocks it. But yeah, so it's not that hard to last hit with Nomad, so to be honest, if you can't last like that, there were a couple, I think at least one I saw, maybe even more than that, where you just missed because you're auto-attacking. It's not huge, and at this point, again, it doesn't matter, but, I mean, those are the things that make great players from bad players, auto-attacking to push away for no reason. No, you don't really care about the experience of the wave being pushed up at this point in the game. What you care about is the gold, so you want the gold. You want the last hits from all of them. Now, to an extent, there are times when that doesn't apply because sometimes you want to push the wave before the enemy team comes to kill you. I can get that, but in general, oh god, that Midas. Sad face.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Yeah, he's dead. Okay, so that was well played by you. I was talking about just Midas dying, but that was an unfortunate ultimate. I think you're dead. Yeah, the shield's gonna kill you. Okay, so a bit greedy by you, actually. I thought you were gonna get out of there, but turns out no, in which case it was a little bit greedy. Well, I guess it was greedy regardless, but it just kind of bit you in the ass. Sometimes greedy play is what you have to do when you're behind, and I'll be the first one to say it. When you're losing a game, sometimes you have to take unnecessary risks, which you wouldn't take in normal games. By the way, I have no idea how they saw that Panda. Did he walk out of the trees or something? I'm so confused.
I don't know.
But
it's weird.
Yeah, he just like threw a random meteor into the trees.
You could have actually survived then if you'd have, when you used your Mirage Strike, if you'd have run back through Electrician, and then you could have popped that regen rune and hid somewhere, and maybe even turned around and got a kill when they were just like running around trying to find you.
Yeah, it is. It comes down to a little bit of misplays, but in general, that was just a bit greedy by you guys, and I'm for it. In all honesty, even though that was greedy, I actually agree with your decision to do that because when you are behind, you have to take risks like that. It is what it is, because you can't depend on the enemy team making mistakes. It does happen a lot. Don't get me wrong, but it's usually not something to depend on. I find gambling works a little bit better. Okay, Doctor, why don't I just use all my mana to jump further into them? That's probably a pretty good idea. To be honest, I feel bad for you. This team is just like literally dragging you down with them. This is an unfortunate game to watch. Okay, so again, kind of greedy. It's okay. I mean, you focus. It's okay. They were both pretty tanky, so it's fine. Oh god, that was like the best meteor you could possibly get as Ra. Oh Jesus.
Holy.
He just hit like 4 of you with that. That was ridiculous.
And after he resurrects as well, that's an extra. What level is he? Yeah, 30% damage, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
something
think when
like
it's
that.
level 3. Yeah, 30% extra damage, and that's on all of your skills as well
Yeah.
as
Mm-hmm.
your auto attacks.
It applies to
So
all damage.
it's insane.
It's like at this point, I'm actually surprised we haven't conceded yet. Of course, I'm not that surprised considering Panda and Doctor probably don't totally understand that they're fucked. But
Probably
uh,
don't understand the game, to be
yeah,
honest.
they really just don't get it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are things you can improve on, man. You didn't play flawlessly by any means, but it is not your fault that you lost this game. So I'll be the first to tell you that it is by far Panda,
Yeah.
Doctor, and even the other two for building pretty shitty, although they weren't feeding quite as bad. But the other
Yeah.
two played pretty shitty too, to be honest
I,
with you.
I will say you could have played a lot better. You didn't play well by any means, but I don't think even if you had played well, you could have won this because your team is one of the few occasions where it is entirely unwinnable because of your team
Yeah.
and not really because of you. Like,
So, okay, so sorry to interrupt you. That was like the third ultimate that you have used just in a poor situation to begin with. So first of all, I get that sometimes it's a little hard to predict when they're going to do damage to you. I understand that. But that was at least the second time, probably the third time, that I've seen you use your ultimate when you are attacking somebody else and they're running away.
he just got stunned by the bubbles ult again.
Did he?
Yeah.
He would have died either way in that probably. They kind of got a little bit greedy. But
Well,
so,
no, if he'd have not been stunned for 3 seconds, he probably would have lived.
I thought Bubbles ult was 1.5 seconds.
At max level, 3 seconds.
Okay then. So yeah, so that 3 seconds is a bit unfortunate, but then on top of that, if you had your ultimate, you might have been able. I don't know. It was a little bit dicey, but so in general, if you're attacking someone and you have a very good feeling they're gonna run away, i.e., if they have 100 health left, they're probably not gonna turn around and attack you. So ulting probably not the best idea. That was a professional cannonball by that panda. But so in general, don't ult. It's a defensive ult. Now you can use it offensively, but you need to use it offensively when you know they're going to be fighting back. You have to use it in a defensive, offensive.
Oh, God, that panda just makes me facepalm so hard.
He does. He's a bit stupid. So,
Here comes DR to feed too.
oh God, these guys.
Wait, oh no, he's not gonna die.
No, he doesn't. By the way, I'm like 20 seconds ahead of you, just so you're aware. But it's no reason to fix it now that we're at the end of the game. But yeah. So you came out, focus the illusion. It happens, I guess. You are just so squishy. So I actually want to just.
He didn't
Before we
focus an
talk-
illusion. He just killed bubbles.
That wasn't an illusion. I thought it was- okay, I'm stupid then. Never mind. You're right. But I do actually want to talk about something I've noticed. If you're not gonna go home, and I don't take that the wrong way because you should get Mystic Vestments anyways if you're gonna go home if you need them. But you didn't go home. You didn't go Vestments. You are so squishy, so squishy.
Yeah.
That's the
This is
reason
what I
you
don't
get.
like about the Shroud first build on Nomad.
Yeah,
like,
that's the
Genjuro is
reason.
a great item on him at any stage of the game, but
Oh, that's the reason you get Helm on him is because he's just a really squishy hero early game. Even late game so much, but more so early. It's just, he's so squishy. You need something to stay alive and stay in the fights, and the Helm provides that. But even if you want to skip the Helm and go for Shroud, okay, I've already talked about how I don't like that, but you need Vestments against this team. They have a lot of magic damage. Vestments is a requirement. There's no way around that. It's, no matter who you're playing, Vestments would be good against this team. 4 out of 5 of them are dealing almost pure magic damage. So
yeah. I will say that if you're going to go Shroud Nomad, which in my opinion is okay, don't go straight Shroud. It really annoys me when I see people go straight Shroud. Get some basic stats items, get a power supply, maybe a Grave Locket, get some Mystic Vestments. Don't just go literally just Shroud and nothing else. Like, you have nothing then. You have no survivability or anything.
yeah. So okay, so we're gonna kind of condense these summaries for this one due to my own time constraints. So I'm sorry about that. But if you have any comments or questions, feel free to ask, and if we miss anything. But so we're gonna kind of rush through your summary real quick. Still covering everything, hopefully though. So first of all, your CK was low. Your CK was low primarily because you wasted time that was unnecessary to waste. So we've talked about it throughout the video. There was at least 2 examples that I can think of off the top of my head, probably more than that. 3 or 4 would probably be more accurate, where you were just in the wrong place doing essentially nothing when you could have been farming. So in general, and we talked about it in a lot of the other videos, in general it comes down to you need to realize where you're most valuable, where you're going to get the most utility. That's kind of an economics term, but essentially where you're going to get the most satisfaction, the most out of your hero by being at a certain place. And sitting in mid trying to defend 1v4, for example, the one that I'm thinking in the mid to late game there, is not the answer ever. I don't think in any game that's the answer. So in general, I mean, he talked about it. If they're pushing your lane and your team's not coming to defend, which they probably should if they're pushing the tier 2 tower in most cases, but if they're not going to, then you should push another lane and have a TP on you. The other thing, so your last hitting is okay. Another thing you can improve upon is just don't auto-attack just to push a wave just because you're not in the laning phase. Last hitting applies all throughout the game, and I see people do it a lot where they think, oh, we're not in the laning phase anymore, let's just auto-attack the wave, we're going to kill towers. Well, that's true, but not the way you say it. So you do want to kill towers, you want to kill the wave as fast as possible when you're in the mid to late game, but you usually don't want to just auto-attack. Usually what you'll do is you'll auto-attack the creeps that your creeps are not fighting, the ones that aren't taking damage, and you'll attack them down to low, and if you have a nuke, you'll nuke the wave, and then, hopefully get a couple. If not, you'll just kill them as they get low from your creeps, and attacking the ones that are not being attacked down, and killing them as your creeps are killing the other ones. That might sound a little bit confusing, but just listen to it again if you didn't totally get it. You essentially are just attacking the ones that your creeps aren't attacking until they get low and killing them, but you're still last hitting the ones that your creeps are attacking. So that's how you kill the wave, the most efficiency, I guess, as Nomad anyways, because he doesn't really have any AoE nukes. So that's how you would kill the wave in that case, but again, you're not auto-attacking, you're last hitting all of those creeps, hopefully. For the most part, your play was okay. It wasn't phenomenal. Your positioning was decent. It's just that you were positioning. So you were positioning, and I'll talk about it when we get to your build. But you were positioning in a way where you were tanky, which you weren't. So
yeah,
you kind of positioned like as if you went the Helm, Mystic Vestments, Shield Breaker route, which is
why I'm not a huge fan of going early Shroud on Nomad unless you're absolutely crushing them and you just want to be able to spam and kill them ridiculously fast, because as Nomad you want to be in their face hitting them, and you can't do that if you have no survivability.
Yeah, so you were kind of playing like you went the normal, kind of, I guess, acceptable, quote-unquote, build for Nomad, but you didn't. You went the Shroud, and Shroud provides survivability in the sense that it lets you escape, but it doesn't provide survivability in the sense that it keeps you alive in a fight.
Especially against AoE where they don't need to see you, and they had a lot of AoE.
Yeah, and they had quite a few stuns too, and on top of that, there wasn't really much you could do because a lot of them were just kind of really well played by Ra, but he hit a lot of meteors on your team in general, not just you, but just he hit a lot of like 2 or 3 person meteors where you guys were like grouped up and he's just like meteor, then runs in, blows up, and you all just like die. Like it was pretty crazy how many. I mean, I noticed 3.
It was more due to horrible positioning by most of the Hellborn team
but it wasn't
Rad's own skill. But
but it wasn't Nomad's fault in a sense. It was kind of just the team in general not really coordinating it all too well.
I will say that loss is almost 100. It's 90% due to your horrible team.
Yeah. I mean, even if, like, for example, Angry Testy had been playing, I think it's unlikely he would have been able to win this game either. That was...
Oh, Testy could have won it because he just can... It doesn't matter what his team does.
No, you know what? I thought that too, but you see him lose quite a bit if you go on his stream and you, like, just watch some of the idiots that he plays with, and he just... There are games that he just cannot 1v5, and I think this would be one of them because of how tanky that enemy team is and how much AoE stuns and stuff they have. It's just... But... I mean, enough about Angry Testy.
Your team was horrible. The main thing you need to work on is your time management. You spent a lot of time just not really doing anything. You wasted a lot of time. You also made some poor decisions. You focused the wrong people. You tunnel visioned, which is a problem we see a lot with people in this bracket. So work on your time management. Work on who you're focusing, not getting tunnel visioned, and that's about it really. It's the fundamentals of almost everyone we do replay analyses of. It comes down to that. It comes down to not making basically time management and awareness, and what that entails is
Yep.
knowing when to farm and when to gank, and your awareness being who you should be focusing, when you need to go back, where you need to be, and just general map awareness. And those two things, which are some very simple things to get down, and all you have to do is just put a little bit of thought into your play to be able to get those two things down to a T, and it makes such a huge difference to the way you play, and you're going to gain a lot of MMR just from those two core things.
And the only other comments I had on your gameplay was, again, just like I was going to mention it more specifically, but just like you said, your decision making. And if you go back and watch the whole replay, if you just skip to the summary, go back and watch the whole replay, there were a couple times where we actually pointed out your poor decisions and what you should have done instead. For example, the bubbles case at the Ruin Ward, and then on top of that, the I can't think of his name, a Midas case at top where you use True Strike instead of Mirage Strike. But I don't want to get too much into that, so feel free to go back and watch that if you skip to the end. The only other thing we have to talk about in your gameplay is, and this applies to Nomad specifically, is your ultimate uses. They were rather mediocre, to say the least. There were a couple times where and it comes down to a bit, the Hellborn, or the Legion team actually, there were a couple times where Electrician actually held his attack, I guess in anticipation that you were about to ult. But in general, it's hard to say when to ult with Nomad. It's really something you just kind of have to get used to. But it's just, you have to anticipate them doing damage. And the first thing I can tell you is, if you have them running away when they have 100 health left, don't ult, because they're probably not going to turn around and attack you.
Yeah, I see a lot of people do that when they play Nomad. Is that they're just like, oh, gotta get all my damage off and kill this person quickly. I better ult, but it doesn't work like that. Yeah. You have to take damage.
Yeah, so if they're not attacking you, don't anticipate they're going to attack you unless you have some type of anticipation, unless you have some type of sign that implies that they're going to attack you. So, for example, if you see their hero, like turning around and starting their attack animation, that would be a good time. Now, I get that that takes a lot of quicker reaction and all that, and not a lot of people are good enough in the 1500s anyway to do that. But if you're going to play Nomad, that's something you need to master. It is what it is. There's no way around avoiding getting good at anticipating attacks. So that's really the only other comment about your gameplay, but it's just something you have to get better at. Sorry. Your XPM was actually pretty decent, all things considered. 600 XPM is still pretty good, so that's kind of surprising. But I mean, you did get a lot of kills and all that. We already talked about your CK being pretty low. Your GPM was low, mostly because your CK was low. Your score, your KDR isn't phenomenal, but it's fine, I guess. And the only other thing to talk about is your items. So we talked about it throughout the game. We already talked about the Shroud, so I'm just going to briefly review the Shroud. I disagree with the Shroud because it's too much invis and not enough survivability. So we talked about how the Shroud doesn't help you survive in a fight, only getting away or coming in. That's just, it is what it is. It doesn't give you any survivability statistics, really, other than that. It gives you a little bit of damage, well, a fair amount of damage, I guess, and then a little bit of attack speed, plus, of course, the bonus damage and move speed from the unstealth when you attack, assuming you attack. But it doesn't give you any...
I will say... Sorry, yeah, just finish your point and then I'll
okay.
move on to
It doesn't give you any survivability. So usually the route you go with Nomad is Helm and Mystic Vestments if necessary. Obviously you would get Boots level 1 and Bottle before the Helm. Then, of course, if you want to finish your Boots before the Helm, if you're not dying a lot, that's fine, or vice versa. If you're dying too much, taking too much damage. And then usually you'll see a Shield Breaker after that, and then potentially a Demonic Breastplate if needed, or a Shrunken Head if needed, or... Nullstone if needed, or XYZ if needed. But those are, it's not core items on him, but most people would consider them core items on him, being the Helm, Vestments if necessary, and then the Shield Breaker. It's just kind of the go-to
And then
build.
usually Soul's Bulwark.
Yes.
But I will say there's two instances in which I like Shroud on Nomad. The first instance is if you are stomping at the start, which I see a lot of people, and this is the reason that Shroud, I've seen it work so well on Nomad recently, since they changed it, is if you're doing really well at the start, it gives you ridiculous burst for ganking.
Yeah,
but
and actually, sorry to interrupt you real quick, that's actually the reason a lot of you who watch Angry Testy, he does that on a lot of heroes. He'll get Shroud first, so don't misunderstand it being a good item versus a good situational item, just as a note.
Yeah, and the other instance I like it is, as a late game item, Genjuro is fantastic on all agility carries, essentially, and many other carries as well. But it is particularly good on Nomad because of the way it works with its passive. So I do like the Shroud very early if you're doing very well, or the Genjuro as a later game item. But
Yeah.
if you're gonna get it, if you're doing okay or badly, and you're gonna get it still as like your first big item, I really dislike it, and I think it'd be much better to just go for the helm into Shield Breaker and then the souls, and then whatever damage or survivability item you then want or need.
Yeah. So just to inform
And carry
you,
a TP.
yeah, TP. You beat me to it. So, and also we talked about buying your own mid-room ward. You kind of have to sometimes. It just is what it is. So just make sure, usually you want the bottle before you get the rune ward, because the rune ward is to get the runes, and the bottle is, what you need to get the runes. I mean, you could just take the runes, but a lot of the time they're useless if you're just taking the rune. But so just so you know, this is how I would have built in this game against this team. It changes a bit, depends, against other teams, but just for this team, as playing Nomad, I would have gone bottle first. After your first item, of course, not starting, I would have gotten, shield, hatchet, and runes to start. And then I would have gone bottle into red boots, into probably, I probably would have gotten the health tube and then completed my boots. But if you complete your boots and then get health tube and build your Helm of the Black Legion, that's okay too, assuming you're playing it alright. Of course, I would have gotten my rune ward after my bottle and red boots. I would have gotten boots first, actually. But it's okay to get. I would get boots first usually, just because you need the speed to beat somebody to the rune. And if they have a rune ward and they have the money to get their own boots, and you have the rune ward and no boots, odds are you're not going to beat them to the rune ward, even if you have a ward. So it's kind of irrelevant. But then I would have gotten Shield Breaker, level 1. I probably would have gone all the way to level 3, unless I was dying frequently, in which case I would have stopped to get a Shrunken Head. The reason for Shrunken Head is they have a lot of magic damage, but then on top of that they have a lot of stuns. So there are teams that get a lot of magic damage that just don't stun you a lot, and people think it's not necessary to pick up the Shrunken Head because, I can still move around and all that. Well, that's not necessarily the case. The magic damage is still quite a bit, even without the crowd control and all that. But they have both. So 4 out of 5, the 4 out of 5 being everybody except for Sand Wraith, do almost 100% magic damage. So you really need that Shrunken Head, and you really need that Mystic Vestments. I'm not sure if I actually mentioned Mystic Vestments or not, but I would have gotten them.
Definitely needed them in that game.
Yeah, I probably would have gotten them after the Health Tube, or potentially after the finished Helm of the Black Legion, depending on how well I'm doing and things like that.
Yeah, only one person on your team having magic armor made Midas's horrible item choice actually good.
Yeah. But so other than that, after you get the Shrunken Head, which is which is not a word, which is necessity in this game, it's 100% necessary in this game. There's no way to avoid it, as well as Mystic Vestments. But after you get the Shrunken Head and your level 3 Shield Breaker, I probably would have gone for Demonic Breastplate, or at the very least Soul's Bulwark, and then potentially you could go Shroud after that if you wanted to go down that route. You could go
Savage Mace.
Yeah, Savage Mace is acceptable too.
Wingbow would have been decent against that team because none of them are likely to get a Savage Mace until later on. Sandwraith doesn't really build it.
Yeah. So,
well, most Sandwraiths don't. The only way they would build it is in response to a Wingbow.
Yeah, you could get a Wingbow too. I actually usually don't get a Wingbow until maybe late game is like my 5th item or something on most carries, only because...
neither would I. I wouldn't even normally get it on Nomad, but it's...
Yeah, on Nomad I wouldn't get it anyways, but if I'm going to get it on people, I don't get it till late, just because it's... I don't know, it's one of those items that is really good against enemy carries when they have a lot of damage, and obviously if they don't have a Savage Mace. But if they don't have a lot of damage, the evasion really isn't all that good. I mean, it only blocks auto attack damage. It doesn't. I don't think you can evade skills. I'm almost positive.
It is good on agility carries that have some scaling with their agility, other than just obviously
yeah.
damage.
So for example, Nighthound, it would be
yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, because he has. For those of you who don't play Nighthound, he has an ability that makes his agility do more damage for his auto attacks. I mean, that sounds redundant. Of course, he's an agility hero, so they do more damage as well. But then on top of that, his ability makes them do even more. So he would be an acceptable one. But other than that, you didn't play poorly. So by no means was this loss your fault. I would say it's 100%, or at the very least, 99, 98% your team's fault. It's just the curse of being in the 1500s. My biggest recommendation: make some friends, play with friends. If If you're going to be in the 1500, you should at least have fun with some friends while you're doing it. I don't know. Um, Other than that, though, you played all right. So we're going to go quick summary throughout the whole team. I'm actually, well, I'll get to it when I get to it. So, first of all, the Legion team, that was everybody except for Bubbles should have had more CK. So Midas wasn't playing support, so he should have had more CK than that. And then Raw and Electrician, there's no excuse for having below 100 CK at a 34-minute game. That's ridiculous. You
Unless,
guys
of
have,
course, you're just killing all their heroes all the time, which
yeah,
they were.
I guess, but even still, I mean, you have such crazy farming ability, especially as Raw. Like,
Yeah.
there's no
And
reason
Midas.
Raw should never have that low CK in a 34-minute game. That's just, even if you're
Even
getting a lot of kills.
accidentally getting creep kills, you should have more than.
It's ridiculous. Sandwraith, you're still below where I would like to see you. I mean, in general, in a 34-minute, you should probably be something like 170-ish, 175, just about. Just if you're going to be like on par with what you should be getting, 50 every 10. Yeah, 50 every 10, I think. Yeah. So in general, though, as a carry, you want to be ahead of 50 every 10. So that's like a guideline you should try and aim for, but you obviously want to be higher than that. So your CK isn't really not that good. Plus, you got a mock that was relatively delayed. So, I mean, I believe I noticed you having the mock, the Sword of the High at about 22. So I'm imagining the mock wasn't around till 25, 26, something like that, 27 maybe. So that's that's not really a fast mock. It's kind of like an okay timed mock. Legionnaire, for example, had his Sword of the High at like 18 minutes. So just keep that in mind.
Not that he should have got it, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, but we'll get to that when we get there. So anyways, that covers the Legion CK, Hellborn CK. So we talked about Nomad, so I'll skip him. Panda and Dr. Pulsar, you need to uninstall the game.
God.
You literally both need to uninstall the game. that
Or just go and play a lot of practice or bot matches or public mode. Don't join matchmaking queues if you don't know the game, because you will just piss people off and lose MMR and lose MMR for other people, and that's why people will hate you, and that is what makes people in this game have such a horrible attitude as a community, is having people like you on their team. No offense.
Yeah. No, I actually want to imply offense on that. That was... and whenever I see somebody jump into a game, like, hey, my first game, guys, who should I play? It's like, what are you doing here in your first game? Go play no stats. Why would you jump right in your first game? It doesn't make any sense. It's just idiotic. It's like, how do you live? I don't understand. But so, first of all, both of you, I'm not even going to mention your low CK, because I think everybody in the world should realize that 34 minutes, 20 CK on a Panda, and 41 CK on a Dr. Impulsor is unacceptable. They both have relatively good farming abilities, and of course they're better, but they're both still very good farming abilities. They should have higher CK than that. With that being said, they both played very poorly. They both need to go practice last hitting before they practice anything else, because apparently they don't quite understand how important that is. My first thought is that maybe they came from League of Legends, because in League of Legends people tend to, unless you're a higher
I don't think
player.
they'd even played MOBAs. Like Panda at that start, what the hell was he doing?
Yeah,
Right.
to be honest, that's okay. That's an honest. Yeah, fine. Maybe they don't even know how to play MOBAs. In which case, either way, though, go play no stats. Play against bots now. They have that, so feel free to use them. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm told they're relatively intelligent bots. Yeah, so I'm not going to talk about your CK. Also, no denies, so that makes me have a sad face. Legionnaire. So your CK is actually good. 200 at 34 minutes is pretty good. I will not give you credit for it, though, because I am going to give credit to that poor item choice of a mock that you got. I'm not sure
And no PK.
Yeah, and on top of that, a bunch of those CK you stole from your mid for no reason. You're like, hey, I want to play mid now. I'm going to go past his tower and take all his gold and experience. What? No, don't do that. If you're gonna cut a lane, mid is usually not the choice to do that at 10 minutes or whatever it was. That's pretty odd. So, but other than that, I wasn't really paying too much attention to you, so I'm not gonna comment on your play. That is a good CK, so I'll give you some credit, I guess, but I don't want to give you too much because I don't think it was because of you. I think it was because of your poor item choice. Solstice, your CK, sure, it's not great. Same comment behind Sandwraith. You should have had higher than that. 170.
Especially if you went a stupid item
Yeah, actually,
Rune Cleaver.
you got a Rune Cleaver, so yeah, he's right. You should have had even more than 170. Rune Cleaver, for those of you who don't know, the item is not meant for its damage or for all that. I mean, the cleave damage on enemies is nice too, but it's primarily meant for the ability to farm, to maximize your farm potential. It's kind of like a Alchemist Bones, but not a shitty item when you get in team fights. So, That covers items. Or, sorry, that covers creep score. Now we're going to rush through items real quick. Ra. So your items aren't wrong with the exception of the Whispering Helm I don't like, but...
I don't like stacking the lifesteal on Ra. There are better items to get. Everyone knows how I feel about Steam Boots on Ra. I hate it, but
Yeah.
other people like it.
Yeah, but so I don't like the Whispering Helm, but I'm actually okay with the Abyssal Skull, considering they have 3 melees, and on top of that, I love that item on every team pretty much for the most part.
You had a lot of armor, to be fair, so
Yeah,
against a
I would
physical
have
damage
liked to
team,
see
it's
I would have
okay.
liked to see somebody else pick it up, maybe Electrician or Midas, but it's okay if you get it too. It's not that big of a deal. But other than that, your items aren't bad. Also, usually you have a heart somewhere in there. I'm kind of confused as to why you went for Demonic Breastplate as opposed to heart, because heart increases your damage output more, I would imagine. I haven't done the math, but I would think so.
It does because of it scales with
Yeah,
his W, and
yes.
he's a strength hero.
So
And
I'm a bit
I don't know.
confused.
To be honest, I'm on the fence because he did build a lot of armor, and it
Yeah.
is a heavy physical damage team, but they
Al
weren't doing anything really.
Although the only thing I will say is I definitely love the Soul's Bulwark. I just think you could have stopped at Soul's Bulwark and then got the heart and come back to it later. So if you didn't have that Whispering Helm and only got the Soul's Bulwark instead of the Demonic, you probably could have afforded a heart on top of that. I'm not 100%, but if I did the numbers, that sounds about right. So other than that, your items aren't bad, though. They're just a little bit odd, I guess. And some of them, like the Whispering Helm, is just bad. Electrician. So I'm not against your items. I'm not a huge fan of the Icon of the Goddess on him. I know he really needs mana regeneration and all that. I'm a big fan of that. But really what he needs is, and don't get me wrong, it does give you quite a bit of mana and health, but mana regeneration for him isn't as important as maximum mana, because his shield blocks a percentage of the mana that it uses, and it uses 20% of your max mana at level 4. I think it might scale, but so if you have more mana, the shield blocks more damage and therefore makes you more tanky, and also makes the shield last longer, so it does more dot damage and the searing damage around you. So I would have liked to see a Culdre's Sheepstick would have been my first choice. Now I'm aware that a Culdre's Sheepstick is significantly more expensive than the Icon of the Goddess, but
Or
that's just
Frostfield plate as
yeah.
well gives a
Frostfield
lot.
Plate too gives you quite a bit of mana as well. 27 intelligence, I think. I want to say.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
As well as the
Um,
armor, the attack speed debuff,
yeah,
and the
yeah.
activatable, which
But
is a nice slow.
what I will say, the helm, vestments, and boots are totally fine. They have enough magic damage, not a crazy amount. And I actually, considering that Doctor was playing so poorly, I would actually take that back. But just in general, against a Doctor, I'm okay getting a Mystic Vestments. But against this Doctor, not so much. So just keep that in mind. But other than that, I would have liked to see, instead of the Axe of the Malphite and the Icon of the Goddess, I would have liked to see a Sheepstick and then working towards or a Frostfield Plate, but I would prefer Sheepstick because I love crowd control. And I mean, I know the Frostfield Plate does
Both of
give us
those items are ones you want to be getting that
yeah,
order's not
yeah, yeah.
particularly
Um,
want.
and or actually, you know what? You could have even gotten Sheepstick and then or Frostfield Plate and then gone for a Nullstone after that too. They have plenty of single target key abilities, mostly within the Panda and Legionnaire with their ultimates, but it's still a viable item to get. So other than that, your items aren't wrong. They're just not what I'd like to see. They're not the best, I don't think. We're not going to talk too much about the spell shards because we talk about that in every replay ever for Midas, that is. But the ring and the boots, I like those.
Yeah.
I would have. I think just about the same cost as spell shards, you could actually get a tablet of command for less than that, and still have a little bit
It
left.
is less.
I think it's like 200 less or something.
It's
Um,
300 odd less, 330
and actually,
or
we
something.
can't see what level those spell shards are, but if they're level 3, that would be even more than 200 less. So I'm not sure. And based on
If
your
they're level 3 spell shards, you could have got Hellflower.
yeah, you could have gotten something much better. So there's a number of items. I'll just ramble off a few, but any of them would have been more acceptable than this. You could have gotten Hellflower, Sheepstick, a Storm Spirit, Tablet of Command, Astrolabe, if that's the way you want to go. Although I don't like it on Midas as much because he's not so much like a support like that. He's kind of more crowd control-y, I kick butt kind of support. You could have even gone Frostfield Plate if you wanted. That's okay. It's not phenomenal, but it's fine. Nullstone as well, acceptable. The list goes on and on. Spell shards, not acceptable. Well, I guess it's acceptable, but not good.
You could have got
So
a Portal Key as well. I really
yeah,
like that on Midas.
yeah, you could get Portal Key. I wouldn't have got it based on his farm and all that, but I mean, you could. Usually, I only get Portal Key on heroes that are either like really good initiators, like Behemoth or Magnus, or heroes that are doing pretty good early game. But it's fine either way. Um, Bubbles. So you got the Nullstone. I like the Nullstone. Nullstone's totally acceptable against that team. And it looks like you're building a Hellflower, sorry. I keep mixing those up. A
Yep.
Hellflower, so that's awesome. And the bottle because you went mid. So good. So I don't have anything to say about your items, really.
Nope.
Um,
Sandwraith, the only thing I don't like is the shield breaker. I think
yeah.
the Frostburn into Geos and Frostwolf Skull is better on him. I don't think shield breaker is necessary on him at all.
Yeah, I don't.
That,
He's the kind of carry that you don't build damage on. He's the kind of carry that you base most of your damage off of the crowd control and the mock. I mean, don't get me wrong. When it gets to late game, you usually, like he said, you'll have a Geos or Frostwolf Skull, and then maybe like, uh,
Mo.
yeah, maybe something else that would give you a bit more damage. But he's not like a Madman or a Kronos that you get like 350 attack damage on, and then you just beat somebody's face in. It's not really the way you play that hero. You
Yeah.
can, I guess. It's just not the way it works.
Also, the Souls Bulwark was bad because Ra already had one and he was building it demonic, and you should have
Yeah,
seen that.
yeah. So souls they don't stack. Now, of course, you can flip them. You can have one on neg, one on pause, and they will stack that way. But of course, once he gets the demonic, they don't stack because the demonic does both. So just keep that in mind. One of yours, whether it's his or yours or whatever, will not stack anymore. So just a thought to make, I guess. And then, of course, if you get a demonic, both of them, both the negative and positive, will not stack. So it's double the waste at that point. So usually you only want one demonic on the team, and I actually would have preferred to see it on Raw, I guess, only because I don't think Sandraith really needs it. Um,
I
we
don't know.
already talked.
I would have preferred to see it on Sandwraith, but I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world either
Yeah,
way.
yeah, um, yeah. It's not that big of a deal. So. If Ra got a heart instead of the helm and demonic, then I would have liked to see it on Samwraith instead. But either way, it's not a big deal. We already talked about Nomad. There's not much to
There's,
comment on for Doctor and Panda. I'm just gonna say,
they had nothing.
well, what I will say for Panda is good items. They just aren't anywhere close to enough. like that's a good start. That's fine if you want to start that way, but you should have had way more than that.
If
Way
you
more.
had those items at 10 minutes, that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's fine, fine. Even 10 is a bit slow for a Panda who should be farming,
Yeah.
but 7, 5 minutes, that's good. Nice job, man. And similar concept behind Doctor. It's not bad items, I guess. It's just I'm not sure why he got um the apprentice's robe.
58 gold per minute on Panda. He would have been more useful sitting in the well for the entire game.
Yeah, well,
You would have got more gold per minute,
he would
and
have
you
been more
wouldn't have
useful
fed.
if he disconnected and gave
Yeah.
the gold to his team.
Yeah.
Um, But so yeah, so the apprentice robe on Doctor kind of throws me for a bit of a loop. It looks like maybe he's starting to go for his Hellflower, but I mean, like that at this point, that shouldn't be your first item. Like you're dying way too much, and you don't have enough mana regen, so you need something else. I would have liked to see like almost any other, like even an Astrolabe would have been good if you got an Astrolabe to help your
Yeah.
team out. That would have been nice. Crowd control if you wanted to go for a Storm Spirit or Tablet of Command, either would have been acceptable. But either way, like if you're that far behind, don't go with the Hellflower for your first item. If you want to get it later, it's okay, I guess, but you're way too far behind to make use of a Hellflower as much as you could. So it's not worth it. Now we get to the two main courses of the whole show. Uh, so so Legionnaire. So first of all, your items. I play Legionnaire frequently, not every game, but your items make me want to cry. Like cry. Like this is bad, really bad. So you started right. You got two shields and then some Runes of Blight. Fine, good job starting items. That's okay if you're gonna jungle.
I
You
prefer the hatchet, but to the second shield. But yeah, it's personal
Yeah,
preference.
the reason you would get the hatchet as opposed to the second shield is so you can stack camps more efficiently. The damage from it isn't really all that relevant because Legionnaire's ability to jungle comes from his whirl, not from his auto attacks. But you can use the hatchet to stack more than one creep camp at a time in the Hellborn jungle, as well as cut down trees to help you stack them. So that's the reason for it. It's not for the damage, just so you guys who are like, what are you talking about? But just so you know. But either way, it's okay. Okay, so you went Mock first. Dumb, 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 dumb. Portal Key is much more efficient, and on top of that, you didn't ever get a helm, so it's a little bit odd. In all
Helms.
honesty, I'm not sure how you jungled. I don't understand. Like Legionnaire can't like stack these triple stack. You can't like triple stack or even like double stack the strong camps without regen. I'm assuming what happened was you got the shaman's headdress regen parts first, and okay,
Yeah.
but that's not no, that just doesn't make any sense, man. An acceptable build on Legionnaire is you go either two shields or shield and hatchet first, and some regen, of course. I actually get potion since I'm jungling, unless I know they're going to have an aggressive jungler or something, but it's not that big of a deal. So you get that, and then your first item needs to be a health tube. Needs to be the health tube, and then usually you'll see people go like health tube into boots and then rush a PK. I probably do the same. Sometimes it depends on how well or poorly I'm doing in the jungle, because it depends a bit on your creep spawns, so it's just a little bit up to luck.
I can jungle pretty fast, so I normally would go for boots, helm, PK, and I'd have all of that by like 14 minutes.
Yeah, you complete the helm first.
Yeah.
It's okay. Some people complete the helm first, some people stop at the tube. I actually also complete the helm first, probably, in most games. There are rare cases where I may not, if like my team's doing really bad and they need some backup. Usually the PK makes it so you can back them up, because without that, he has okay mobility, but it's you can set up some really good taunts with a PK, is really what it comes down to. But so I'll go, helm, boots, just the red boots. You would not upgrade your boots usually before you get a PK. So almost always you'll go for Ghost Marchers, not post haste like this fool did. You'll go for Ghost Marchers on him almost always, and then you will not upgrade them though to Ghost Marchers. You won't get the 2 punch daggers until you get your PK. PK is more important. And the taunt makes it so you don't need the Ghost Marchers. Even if you do want to gank a bit, you do not need Ghost Marchers to gank, because you have... Or sorry, not taunt, sorry, I meant charge. You have the charge to get in there. You don't need the Ghost Marchers to walk in. So then you'd rush the PK, then finish your boots, then get Mystic Vestments if it's necessary, which in this game it most definitely was. And I actually also would have completed the Shaman's Headdress, so that's a good choice. And then Soul's Bulwark probably into maybe Demonic if you want to go for that, or if you don't need the Demonic right away, you can go Heart, you can go...
Hellflower works really well on him.
Hellflower's fine too. It works really well because of the bonus damage and the silence, so they can't get away. It works really, really well if you are against enemies that have very good escape abilities. So Magebane, Hag, Chronos, all those heroes that have blinks, it works really well on a lot of heroes with PKs, not just Legionnaire actually, but on Legionnaire as well, where you can portal key in, silence them, taunt them, kill them without them getting away. That's usually the use of it. The damage and attack speed is also nice, don't get me wrong, but that's the really good use of somebody who gets a PK and then a Hellflower too. So other than that though, I guess the Ring of the Teacher is unnecessary as well, so you don't need it. You're not going to build it into anything. Don't get us wrong, we love Ring of the Teacher, just you don't need it on him because he's a jungler, so it's just not an item for him. You can get it on like some junglers like Warbeast or Ophelia or Tempest if you want to get it on them, although on Ophelia or Tempest I actually get a Ring of Sorcery, but it's not wrong. So just on Legionnaire it doesn't make any sense. So Solstice, so the second main show. So your boots, first of all, Steam boots are usually more effective on Solstice for the main reason that they will increase the proc on your E. Some people go Ghost Marchers. It's okay. I don't hate it. He doesn't have much mobility with the exception of his Q, so it's fine.
He literally had the least stats and survivability of any kind of anyone in the game. Even Nomad still had a minor totem. You had...
It's a little bit odd. So I would prefer Steam Boots. Rune Cleaver is a huge no. Absolutely not on Solstice. Like, you already have, during the daylight, of course, you already have an AoE cleave every third attack. You do not need the Rune Cleaver for farming. It is not a good item without the cleave, and granted, you still get the cleave, but it's not necessary. It's the same concept behind a similar concept anyways, behind the Assassin Shroud on Nomad, why I disagree with it, because you don't need the Invis. And then on top of that, it doesn't give any stats at all. It gives damage, which I guess technically you could count as a stat, but stats usually refer to agility, intelligence, strength. And then it gives regen. The regen's nice, sure, but it doesn't give any survivability when it comes down to, like, if they're killing you or something. The regen is over.
The mana regen's percentage based, and you don't have any stats, so it's... true. So it's not doing anything.
That's true.
Really.
Like, if you got 5 scarabs on anybody, it wouldn't matter because you don't have any mana regen to begin with, so... You don't have any intelligence to increase the mana regen. They're all percentages, so that's true. So usually an acceptable build on Solstice. You could go a couple ways with it. I see a pretty
to be honest,
range.
I don't really know an awful lot about how to build a lane Solstice because I never played lane Solstice.
Yeah, me either. But For example, when I play jungle Solstice, so I can tell you guys that when I play jungle Solstice, it depends on how many melees I have on my team and what my team is, but I'll sometimes get an Abyssal Skull, sometimes not. And if I don't get the Abyssal Skull, my first item will be probably boots all the way. I'll probably just complete the boots. And then after that, I would go one of a couple things. You can go Shield Breaker if your team has a lot of crowd control. You can go Frostburn if you don't have a lot of crowd control and you need it. You can go Soul's Bulwark if you want to do a lot of pushing. You can build him a lot of weird ways. It kind of comes down to how you're going to play him a bit and what your team is and what the enemy team is.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to build that hero, but Rune Cleaver is not one of them. I understand the idea behind it if you were jungling, but it's still bad even if you were jungling.
Well, it's the same concept behind that whole Hammerstorm the other day we played with, who got a bunch of Rune Cleavers.
Oh my god, that was yesterday. He got 2 Rune Cleavers. I don't believe we won that game, man.
No, we didn't. No, we did win that game, remember?
Yeah, we did. I don't believe we did, but somehow we managed to win that game.
That's funny. You guys won't get that reference, but you can go through my past games and check it out if you guys want. But other than that, so we went through everybody. Again, Nomad, I apologize for your team. I feel bad for you, man. It happens on occasion, but this is... to be honest with you, it comes down to the fact that I'm pretty sure this was not a verified account and you played unverified. I'm almost positive about that.
I think Ra must have been half asleep eating pizza playing that because he had like 46 APM.
46. Oh, God. But so it does come down to your team. You could improve. Go back to the summary that we already went over if you wish to re-look it. I hope it helped. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This applies to everybody, by the way. Everybody who watches these, by the way, you can learn things even if you're not the one being analyzed. So, I mean, they apply, a lot of the concepts we talk about do apply to a lot of heroes or play in general. So, feel free to watch them if you want. If not, the summaries are there at the end for everybody as well. So, there's that. Any closing comments before we end this?
I just kind of want to say I'm sorry about your team. They were the reason you lost this one, but there are a lot of things you can improve on. Again, just want to recap on the time management and the awareness, and that pretty much goes for everyone that we do replay analysis of. Those are the 2 core things that people need to work on. Yeah,
and I don't particularly like advocating that people are stuck in an MMR bracket because of their teams, not them, because a lot of the time it is a team game, so it does come down to teams in some case, but usually, like, if you're losing, there are ways you can improve, even if your team is the reason you're losing. So I don't like advocating that, but it is the case for a number of times, and I'm a victim of it too. It happens all the time,
As a general rule, if you have 50% win, you're at the MMR that you should be at the moment, without making improvements or getting worse. If you're below 50% win, you're going to drop until you get to 50% win. And if you're above 50% win, you're going to climb until you get to 50% win, and that will be your actual MMR.
Yeah.
If you've got like 52% win, it's going to be slow, and it's going to be a bit of a crawl to gain MMR, and it is going to be, you're not often going to be able to make the difference if you have a bad team.
Yeah, this guy has 56% win, although he only has 54 games played, but just in general. So, we talked about everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. I unfortunately have work, so I do need to get going, so we will close this out. Feel free to continue to submit replays, and once again, I apologize to Haku's Love. We will be doing your replays still. Don't worry, we didn't forget about them. I just decided, in all fairness, we should do somebody else's since we already did yours, and he was in line, so... It is what it is. We will get to them eventually, though, so do not fret. Other than that, though, there is all there is to it. I was considering, just as a tiny little channel announcement, I was considering doing, like, hands-on coaching for somebody if they wanted, but it comes down to a bit of time constraints and such. Of course, it would be free. I don't charge people for that. That'd be stupid, because I'm not even that good. But, like, learning in a game playing, I think, has quite a bit of merit to it itself, not just
if you
watching.
have someone mentoring you, even like say me or Elfis gets into a game and then the other one comes online and mentors the other one, like just pointing out little things, even if it's someone that is at the same skill level or even higher skill level than you, and you're mentoring them, you'll notice little things and remind them to do it and stuff. It's good to have someone just watching you play and mentoring and being able to just tell you little things to do.
Yeah, and it comes down to mostly just because even if they're at the same MMR, they aren't worried about the game right now, so they can look
Yeah.
at all the things. They don't have to worry about playing at the same time when you're playing. You have to worry about it, so you can't always think about all the things you're doing wrong. But I was considering it. If anybody would be interested, let me know. It does come down to time constraints a bit, but if we can make it work, I have no problem doing it. So feel free to let me know about that. Other than that, though, thank you for watching once again. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. And we will see you guys later in the week or next week. I hope you're all having a wonderful Thursday or Friday when you see this, I guess. GG, well played, guys. Elfis out.